Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and today I am ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes I used in the month of February. I love doing these rankings because I rank everything I used, whether it's brand new in my collection or years and years and years old. Whatever it is, we're going to see how the old things stacked up against the new. If that sounds good to you, keep on watching. Before we get too far into the video, if you have not already, I would love it if you consider subscribing. I upload videos twice a week. It's totally free to subscribe, and I would love to have you back again on the channel for all things makeup. This month I used 12 eyeshadow palettes, and there are a couple that I don't love this month. Sometimes it's just a matter of I like them all and something has to be at the bottom, but there are a few of these that if they disappeared from my collection, I would not be sad. I would not chase them down. I would not remember them. So we'll let you know where each of those are. And number 12, the bottom palette. This is the one I'm wearing today, actually. This is the Melt Millenial Pinx palette. I used this as part of a weekly open collab on Instagram. So if you're not following me, I have that and all my other socials listed in the description. Here's the palette if you haven't seen this. I got it in a Melt mystery box, and the quality's probably the worst of any Melt palette I've ever used. The mattes are fine. The shimmers, not anything special. Usually when I use a glitter primer, it helps them. The shimmer was being really weird and like sticking only exactly to the spot I put the primer. It was not wanting to blend on the edges. Not a good texture. Just, I had a terrible time using that this month. And there have been other months I've used this and I've been like, it's not special, it's just okay. But I just plain did not like it and not think it was good this time around. So I'm not a person who really declutters or gets rid of things in my collection. But this is one, like I said, if it disappeared tomorrow, I mean, good riddance. Like, I would not think about it or miss it for sure. Number 11 is not far behind. This is the Tarte Sugar Rush Sweet Slice palette. I also use this in conjunction with another palette to dupe for an Instagram post, the Natasha Denona Love palette. The cute packaging partially got me, I'm not gonna lie. I've had this for years. This was when I first started getting more into makeup. This is one of the first palettes I bought. And I think Sugar Rush is supposed to be more like their junior, like young line, but I love that this was an eye and cheek palette and the theming of it. And the mattes, I quite enjoy in the blush actually in here. The shimmers, just like many Tarte, in my opinion, shimmers, not impressive. It's so neutral, Nelly, and boring. This is definitely one that I can use to work. I've got some pretty significant divots in this one. Like, this might be one that I could actually pan and use up some of these shades if I wanted to, just to get it out of my collection. It's not unusable and like weird and chunky and crumbly like the Melt one was, so it gets rated higher, but it's certainly not really, other than the packaging, anything to write home about in my opinion. In number 10 from Ace Beauté, the Oceanic palette. Now we're getting into palettes that they're not bad, but they didn't blow me away. So this is, I think, their original formula before they reformulated, which I think is fine. I never had an issue with that formula. And I love the color story. I don't 100% always jump for blues. This has tons of greens and golds in it, which is why I ended up getting it. And yeah, it's just okay. Like, it's a good palette. I like what I did with it. But it's not like, oh my gosh, the one that got away that I just had to have, you know, it's not that S tier. So this is certainly in a different category than the two we just talked about, but it is just like, okay, it's good. It's not a bad palette, but it's not life-changing either. So that's why it wasn't any higher. In number 9, this is Alien Cosmetics, but that is what an Earthly Cosmetics used to be called years ago, the Don't Be Jelly palette. I use this for a collab as well, but I have a video I'll leave linked for you if you're interested in seeing. This is the original, and I actually love the look that I used with this, but I used it as a companion palette because it is an all shimmer palette. And there are some of these more like smoother shimmer formula shimmers in here that I just don't really love or get a ton of use out of those smooth ones. I love the more like textured putty ones in here. So love the color story, love the look I came with. Don't love every shade equally in this palette, which is why it's not any higher, but I'm still really happy to have this one, and that collab reminded me that the quality is still really good of these. Like, they have not dried out. They still perform really, really well. So I want to incorporate this one more into some looks going forward for sure. But as a standalone palette, it had to be number 9. And number 8 from Fantasy Cosmetica, the Fighter palette. I took this and used it on a work conference for a few days this month, and I really like this one. I love the shimmers, I love the mattes, I love the brand, the aesthetic, everything about it. It's just not the most exciting color story I used this month is the only reason that it wasn't rated higher, but I did a look that was gray and red. I love that look. I want to recreate it. It's living rent-free in my head right now. And I didn't take pictures or post it or anything, but I got so many like in person, in real life compliments when I wore it. So I do like this palette, and I would like, now we're in ones where I'm like, oh, I would think about this palette if I didn't have it. But it still wasn't the most exciting thing this month to me. And number 7 from Nomad Cosmetics is the Snow Lodge palette. So this one is discontinued. We can't get it, but a reminder to pull it out if you have it, because it's a good one. It's really versatile, and the shimmers on their own I don't love, but unlike the melt, when you pair these with a glitter primer, I actually do think it makes a huge difference, and they are impactful and nice then at that point. Ski Bum is one of my favorite duochromes, this like blue to pinky purple shade. So pretty. I think I've probably used that more than any other shade in the palette, but I also really like these sage greens. Those are unique to my personal collection. I just don't have a lot of sage greens, so I really like this one. It's not rated higher because it's just not a perfect formula for me. Like I said, it needs a little help from some glitter primer, so I still really love it and I'm happy to have it, but it's not like top tier for me because of that. And number 6 from Lunar Beauty is the Nude Prism. Now this is a neutral Nelly, but she had to get raked a little higher, not only for the packaging, but the quality. This is really nice quality. I love both the matte and the shimmer formula, and while it's not the most exciting color story I used, at the end of the day it needed to be ranked higher because of the quality in my mind, even if the creativity isn't quite there. So that's why she's higher than some, lower than others. But I love the Nude Prism for a glam like special event. She has never let me down. I incorporated her into my wedding makeup, so love this one a lot. Number 5 is a newer one to my collection. This is from Unearthly. It is the Spring Magic palette, and I love this artwork that's so pretty to me. The like pretty but deadly aesthetic is, it's me in a nutshell, what I want to be at least. Here's the color story if you haven't seen it. And these shimmers are so ultra finely milled sparkles is the best way I think I can describe it. Like, they are super sparkly, but it's not like chunky or glitter. It's just sparkle, especially in low light. Oh, like going out to dinner with these sparkles, game changer. Dragonfly is the one I hit the most this month. Loved that a lot. This dragonfly would actually be really pretty with those sages from the Nomad now that I'm thinking about it. I haven't touched every shade in this one yet, but I can already tell from the ones I used how much I love this one. And we are still in winter, but I do foresee myself definitely pulling this one out and using it more probably next month or April, like when we get to the spring months, because you can do whatever obviously look you want whatever time of year, but I do kind of like to do seasonal makeup personally. And number 4 from Unearthly Cosmetics is the Surrender palette. This one is several years old, and it surprised me how much I reached for this one this month after using it for, again, one of those Instagram open collabs. The shimmers are still holding up after years, because this is at least 2 years old, I think, from Unearthly's Mystery Valentine's Day box. And I just really love how these paired together. The red, that's probably, man, I think Unearthly has the best red matte formula, because I have a red from them in another shade that I've used of every brand. Many times I feel like reds are patchy and hard to use, but this is really, really good. So I feel like not only Valentine's Day, but maybe Halloween for a red pop, that would be a good companion palette. Browns are really good, mattes are really good. I used it as a companion palette as well as a standalone a few times. I used this one on Valentine's Day too, so yeah, an oldie that I got a lot of use out of this one this month, which is making me happy. That's partially why I like to pull old things out and pull them with the new things, because I've got some newer releases that were lower than this one, right? Like the Spring Magic is definitely newer, but I just like this one better. Okay, the top three. Now, the top three all are more like newer, I will say, so that's interesting. And number 3 from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, the Longing palette. Oh, this color story is my everyday. This muted, colorful palette. I love that the neutrals are more cool tones. I've been loving cool tones lately. I know with my skin tone, warm tones look really good on me, but I just personally, I like cool tones better, even if they're not the more flattering of the two on me. Purples, greens, come on. If you've been on this channel, you know those are my 2 favorite eyeshadow colors. The shimmers are so good. When it rains, I can't stop using this. Every time I use this palette and I'm like, okay, I should try another shimmer. I should try another shimmer. I keep going back to this one when it rains. And my students at school, I'm a teacher, if you didn't know, they were asking me the one day I wore it at school, they were like, what color even is that? And I'm like, I know, right? Because sometimes it's kind of yellowy gold, sometimes it's blue, it's a little gray. It's like you can't pinpoint exactly what it is as it shifts, but it's so ethereal and pretty. And all that's left in the inner corner, chef's kiss. So good. Really, really loving this one, and no regrets at all. This one is a good one. I think really the only reason it's not higher is the others have more like shifty multi-chromes, honestly, and I know they've been on the market and popular for a while, but I just can't get away from them. I'm still gonna love a multi-chrome more personally at this point. And number 2 from Electrum Cosmetics is the Blood Moon palette. Oh, I love the look I did with this. I did more of the warm browns, the mattes in this one, and then I paired it with Blood Moon, which I'm sure on camera you're not going to be able to see all of the cool shifts in this one. It is like a brown base, but it has like so many multicolor, like it's not quite holographic per se, like not silver, but it's got blue, green, red, yellow, all of these flakes and specks in it that look so cool. Electrum's shimmers are some of the best shimmers in my opinion you can get. I'll leave a link to my video where I talk about the best shimmers from any brands in my opinion that you can get, and this is one of them, still remains that way. Man, why is this not number 1? I guess maybe just because it's not that you can't be versatile with it, but I feel like they're like all the mattes are pretty dark, and I do like at least something a little lighter to do either a matte inner corner or to help blend out personally. Obviously, I can pull other palettes to do that or use a translucent powder, but I try to rank these as standalone palettes in these videos, so it was really hard. This was close to 1. And in number 1 is from Bella Beauté Bar, the Recently De-Influenced palette. This came out a while ago. I passed on it originally. I didn't think the color story was for me, and then I started seeing looks that people did, and I love it. Especially Digital Zombie. This is like a bioluminescent shade. It reminds me a lot of the shade from Diva Room, the little 6-pan, the Dewdrops palette. So I'm happy to see something smaller and that's coming into these palettes. Love that it's magnetic, and I love that you have more of like this warm side, but then you also have some like, I don't know, like the multi-chromes are crazy in this one. I don't even think, again, camera cannot cover all of the shifts in these. Ooh, but especially like, can you see this one here? Collab, this shade, like the blue to the purple that is in this one. I hope you can see some of the shifts, but it's mind-blowing, the shifts in this one, and they're all the shimmers with like more texture to them, which is my personal preference. I just loved every single time I use this so much, and I feel like not enough palettes have like a deep green like this. I love a green like that to deepen up the outer corner. Like all palettes usually they do like a black, but I like to deepen up with like a navy or a green like this, or even Energy Vampire, like more of a deep red, plummy kind of brown shade. So this one, it stole my heart. Like, I am still working to use all the palettes I purchased in 2024 because I want to do a video for you guys ranking everything I bought in 2024, and I haven't used everything yet, and part of it is because like I get stopped in my tracks and I'm like, I don't want to use other stuff. Like, this is so good, I just want to stay on this one, but I do want to get that video up, so I need to move on to some other things so that I can rank them all. But she's gonna be high on the list, let me tell you. Love it so much. I like her. I don't know about the whole selfie ring and stuff for the art. Like, I get the concept, but I don't know if I'm in love with the concept. But the product inside, I am 100% in love with. So that is all the palettes I used in the month of February. Let me know what you think of my ranking and what you used in February. I would love to chat in the comments below, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Bye!